Hello, this is Michael Dreikorn. I am your host for Engaged American. So, at Engaged American, what we do is we aim to engage you in challenging groupthink and fostering your own independent critical thinking in matters related to self governance. After all, America was intended and is still intended to be by and for the people. But here's the question: is it still? So today's topic, this is episode 2 of our podcast. Today's topic is defeat or due process. So here in the 2020 presidential election, there's obviously a lot of controversy about what the outcome. And the outcome is based on reliance of the process. We spoke about this in episode 1, about how the process is being questioned. And when a process is not trustworthy, when there's a absence of integrity, the outcome of that process lacks authority. And when you don't have authority, that means that you don't command the ability to govern over those who delegated authority to you. So let's talk about where we're at right now. So we've got media calling the election, globally calling the election for Joseph Biden. And here we are. Do we accept it based on what the media is doing, or do we wait for the process to be completed? So let's look at that question a little bit more depth. So for the past 4 years, do you think the media has given President Trump a fair shake on anything? And I will even throw in, Fox has not always been the best partner to the conservative voice, but they have been there. But are they there for the conservative voice today? Boy, I tell you, I'm a little confused, because it certainly sounds like they've got onto the bandwagon. And matter of fact, it seems like they're on top of that bandwagon, leading the way in certain arguments here about calling the race before the states have even certified it. So let's talk about what some of the issues are. First off, not a single state has certified the elections of their state. And, so we've got the media out there making that self-proclaimed announcement and calling the race on behalf of what they refer to now as President-elect Biden. So what are the consequences of doing that? Well, let's talk about what happens if it becomes overturned. Have you seen the parties that are occurring in places like Philadelphia and San Francisco? Can you imagine if the rule of law progresses and for some reason the vote outcome is overturned? Can you imagine what will happen on the streets? OMG. So I'm going to say right now that the media is completely irresponsible in going out there and making these claims of calling a race when votes are still being counted. Boy, in Pennsylvania, the military vote doesn't even get counted until this next week. And when you've got legal challenges, claims, allegations, you even have fact witnesses that are whistleblowers saying that there are problems with the elective process. We must, as an American people, suspend any judgment on this with regards to the outcome until it is done. Remember in 2000, it took 37 days of Chad counting in Florida before former Vice President Gore conceded. And that was his choice to concede, but it took time for the process to be carried out. And that's what we need to exercise now, is patience and understanding, and not allow the media groupthink factory to prevail in this. So we need to allow the allegations to come to light, the process of litigation, allow the legal system to have its call in this, because there are 71 million Americans that don't share in what this proclaimed mandate is. So the other side, and let's just say, let's not say other side. So Biden is saying that there is a clear mandate. Well, I tell you what, if there was a clear mandate, this would have been decided on election night. There is no clear mandate. There are questions in the process. So the first part of this podcast is let's talk about it. Should we just accept defeat of a sitting president because we're told to? Not because the process, that's the legal process, has been concluded. Or should we allow that due process to follow through and certify? Then, of course, the lawsuits will fly even continuously, but let the process play out. We should not inflame the passion on both sides on this one. Boy, this is going to get nasty. So we hear Biden come out last night in his speech talking about unity. And boy, I love the concept. I really do. But not when it's my way or the highway. And we know that's what's going to happen here. So those folks that are listening to this podcast vlog, I'm going to ask you to have a little bit of bias on this one. Because the best predictor of future behavior and performance is past behavior and performance. Remember during the campaign trail how candidate Biden wanted to arm wrestle everybody? How he wanted to take people behind the schoolhouse and beat them up? How he wanted to challenge people to push-up contests? The man's rhetoric is physically aggressive. And if that transforms itself into public policy, boy, I'm concerned. And if we remember back when he was a vice president, under the Obama administration, we had the weaponization of many federal offices, including the IRS. So past behavior might be an indication of future behavior. I'm worried. And we hear people like, oh, I don't know, Waters from California, and we hear AOC from New York, talking about not giving anybody who has a differing point of view any respite, any safe haven. As a matter of fact, AOC saying we must create a list of every person that supported Trump, and we should do something about it. Boy, that really, really worries me. So engaged Americans, we need not to sit back, change the channel, and accept things for what they are. We may not have any control on the outcome, but we certainly have control over the future. We have control over our voice today, and we need to stand tall. So where is this going to go? Let's assume there is a President Biden. That is very, very possible. So where is that going to take us with regards to our national agenda? Do you think President Biden will be the one that's making that national agenda? I don't see that happening. I mean, I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist, but I really am not. But I am a pragmatic scientist, and I got to tell you, the guy is not as sharp as he used to be. And the reality is that he has been influenced through his entire political career by who is speaking in his ear and who is pulling the strings. So, I really want to respect the office, but the reality is that we, the people, must exercise vigilance in ensuring that whoever those string pullers are transparent to the process, because we need to be able to hold them accountable. And so the only way we're going to do that is by staying engaged and informed. And that brings us to, how does that happen? How do we stay engaged and informed when it seems that all of the news is funneled through these filters of groupthink and bias? And you know, I really do like Fox News for a lot of things, and there's some pundits on there that I really respect. But I got to tell you, man, there's one on there that has really got me concerned, has had me concerned all year, and it's Chris Wallace. He seems to have just been inflaming the process, and it really brings down the whole, I don't know, integrity of a news network when you have individuals within the network who are supposed to be unbiased and are supposed to treat offices with respect. So where does that bring us now, and where do we go for news? Well, I triangulate every bit of information I get to make sure that it's not being spun. And that's a lot of work. And so many of you work day jobs and two jobs, and of course you've got families to take care of, so you don't have a lot of time to go out and do a lot of investigative research, do you? So I think what you need to do is find trusted voices. I would add people like Tucker Carlson as a trusted voice, Levin is a trusted voice, Bongino is a trusted voice. I would add a couple of networks such as OANN and Newsmax to the list of places that I would be looking for information. Government websites are interesting, but they are bureaucratically produced. So use the factual data that's provided. Don't use the narrative, and inform your own decisions on how you're going to engage in critical thought and decisions that are relevant to you. But it's important that you do that. You need to avoid the spin. You need to go on social media networks. And I'm not going to name any here because I don't want to be banned from any. But there's a couple out there that will allow you to post anything you want without being censored. And I, for one, have been on some of these for quite some time now. And I highly recommend that that's where the conservative voice needs to migrate. Because unless you want to be in social media jail forever for expressing your freedom of speech, you're not going to have the ability to share your perspective and thoughts. So I won't name the other ones, but you pretty much know where those are. And I got to say, the balance of power may shift in the executive office, but it doesn't have to shift in Congress. Matter of fact, in the House, we picked up, when I say we, the Republicans have picked up, and yes, I am a Republican, and I'm very proud of it. The Republicans have picked up some seats, but right now the Senate is at risk, and in particular, there are two races in a runoff in Georgia that now I'm going to ask every engaged American to step up and do something about. Whether it is making a financial donation to one of these two candidates, it's David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, or sharing your support for them on social media so others will support their campaigns. It's critical that arm of government. So remember, we have the executive branch, we have the judicial branch, and then we have the legislative branch. It is essential that we do not lose the legislative branch to ensure that what happens in the executive branch does not go unchecked. So if you want a checked government, send a check to David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, even if it's just $5, because 71 million people do matter. 71 million people do matter, and they need to speak up. I guarantee you, in that Senate race, those two Senate races, there will be over $200 million spent. This is important. So when it gets to spending money, So there's another thing that you need to be thinking about, because we as a nation are a capitalist society. And we're intended to be a capitalist society by the ability of us to be able to determine where we're going to spend our money. And as business owners, who we accept money from. So that being said, a good friend of mine, Kevin Sabatis, who is a strong conservative here in Lee County, Florida, is started a new movement called American Spirit Movement. And it's essentially a portal that connects conservatives with conservative businesses. So if you are tired of the rhetoric that comes out of the businesses that you're doing business with, telling you how to live your life, and they don't share your values, this portal will provide the ability to link you up with those businesses that share your values. And I think that's really how we as Americans can make a difference, because we have a couple of votes. We have a vote at the ballot, and we have a vote with our dollar spent. So, folks, this has been episode 2 of Engaged American. I'm still cutting my teeth on the pod/vlog process, and it will get better. And I hope to engage all of you. We will be talking to a number of other conservatives, and Engaged American is a conservative platform. It is when I say conservative, it means to embrace the independents, the libertarians, the Republicans, of course, and even the blue dog Democrats. Everybody that believes in principles over politics. This is an outlet to engage in critical thought, avoid the spin, and ensure there's a process for civic engagement. Peaceful protesting, of course, but civic engagement. So we got this, folks. So regardless of what happens, we must hold the processes accountable. And no, we shouldn't concede at this point, because we owe future generations, future voters, to call out every broken aspect of the electoral process. If something is corrupt, if something is broken, it must be fixed before the next election. Because if it is not, we will lose confidence in our structure of government, those that we delegate authority over us, and just democracy in general. It can't happen. It can't happen on our watch. So God bless everybody. God bless America. And folks, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We need to get the message out. Peace.